Welcome to Imagination Theater, movies for your mind. This is your producer,
Mark Fellhauer.
Tonight, suppose a woman falls in love with
Shawn Windsor.
Only it turns out he's a man of her nightmares.
You asked her to ride your truck around my tube. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
You know, Shawn really is a man that women dream about. And we're glad to have him back. Last week we had Erica Erickson, a woman that men dream about on the show, along with Mike Young, who was, that may be the first time a comedian's gone on a podcast and didn't have to tell one joke. He had so many amazing stories, and I feel like we barely scratched the surface. Although Mark tried.
That's a good thing, though. I don't want a comic to come in and tell their jokes, right? That's what going out to see. I want to have a conversation with them where they're just funny, genuinely funny. He had great stories. So check it out.
And now you've got me. I'm sorry I missed such a good show.
Got you. What are you talking about?
You know what I mean?
You're the best comic around.
It's unintentional though, which is amusing for y'all. But I'm glad you had somebody that was actually a good storyteller and funny.
Well, after Shawn,
and you had Erica.
You knock it off.
You know
after Shawn listened to the show because he always listens to our show.
You always have
afterwards.
that.
Oh, it's a good show last week.
Yeah, he said he was sorry he couldn't be here, and he'll try harder next time, which is fair. It's fair. But I will say, Mike started out kind of slow, and I think it may have been he was kind of trapped in that Shawn aura from the white patent leather chair. It has sort of a time vampire quality to it, but he was able to break the spell. He broke
like
free.
a morphine musk or something.
Ooh, what's a morphine musk?
I don't know.
And Shawn's off to a blazing start.
I like that. Yeah, he's coming back without missing a beat. We are all back, of course, because
I don't have any jokes, by the way,
because we're sponsored by Luke
Neither does
Nowacki
Elric.
and Pinnacle Wealth Strategy. Hey, wait a minute. And they will help you get through this financial uncertainty. They have a plan. They will help you come up with a plan. You'll agree to it. It's not like they're going to just force it on you, but you need a plan. Luke and Zach will help you get one. If you need a break from the doldrums and the everyday ho-hum and what's going on in the news, why don't you check out the Caju Cafe, Muscle Madness Monday, all-you-can-eat mussels. That's a tear-free engagement, so you're going to want to do that. And, of course, there's always great times. You can find out more later on in the show about what's going on at the Caju. And, of course, you, our soulmates, are the ones who keep us coming back every week. We appreciate those of you who subscribe to the show through Patreon and who make us a small donation that gets you all kinds of wonderful special perks. And you can get those all for as little as $5 a month. So please consider becoming a soulmate. It's a pretty good deal. So, we at the risk of being called a sports podcast, we all love sports. We all watch sports. We all play sports. Mm-hmm. And the Tigers are taking this city by storm, which is great because April in the D used to be nothing good in Detroit. And before that, it was everything good in Detroit. All our teams were playing, but the Red Wings...
It's April in the D, that magical month when the Pistons, Red Wings, and the Tigers are all playing at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, the Red Wings are done. The Pistons finally in the playoffs. And Shawn, you said that for some reason people just aren't that excited, but you are.
Well, I think basketball fans are for sure. And just kind of in the run-up to the playoffs, I was just kind of comparing it to what the Tigers have been doing. Where they were. I mean, obviously they started off in Los Angeles and got swept,
but they put up a good fight.
Yeah, they did, and then just kind of started rolling. And yeah, I think last year's run, obviously, right, that crazy 33-11 or whatever it was. That's probably not right. But they had like a 3% chance of making the playoffs, and they made it. They overcame math in a sport that math loves, right? And then then they upset Houston in the playoffs, and then took Cleveland to the deciding game. That has carried over, And I just don't. The Pistons maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need to make a little noise, be competitive, maybe make an off-season move, and then maybe it's next year. But it just got me to thinking, because we do this in sports all the time. We do this in life, obviously, too. But when you want to rank things, right? You want to say, okay, this is obviously clearly a Lions town first.
Oh, yeah. God,
Nobody would dispute that.
No.
But then who's after that?
Why are you making that face, Mr. Anti-Lion?
Well,
it's a Lions town.
But I got to tell you about the Lions. This is why I still can't stand the Lions. I have several friends.
The only person in Detroit.
I have the only one brave enough to admit it. I have several friends who have Lions season tickets, and with these monumental, these massive price hikes that they put on them every year, even though technically
come on.
This year was less successful than the previous year, they will try and sell a ticket because they need to try and make some money, or they can't make a game, or they want to try and earn some money to offset the price increase. Yeah. The Lions, unlike almost every other team I know, will go after you if you sell your tickets on StubHub or SeatGeek. And a friend of mine sold some tickets, like one game, got a message, do this again, we're taking away your season tickets, after decades of watching garbage at a high price. Another friend, same problem. Another friend lost their season tickets because they sold a game or two, and was able to talk the Lions into giving them back their season tickets by explaining, well, my mom died, we had to go to the funeral, which was true, but was maybe used a little bit more of a convenient excuse, convenient for everybody but mom, of course. And why are the Lions penalizing fans who have been long-suffering, who have paid out tons of loot, and who might just need to flip a pair of tickets because they can't make the game or because they're having trouble paying these exorbitant prices? The Lions continue to abuse and mistreat their fans even after they finally put a product on the field that's worth supporting. That's why I can't and will not support the Lions.
They shouldn't raise ticket prices when they're doing well?
What?
That's basic supply and demand. They could probably charge even more than what they charge.
They raised ticket prices when they weren't doing well, but the fact that they are, okay, that's fine. Once you sell that ticket, the owner of the tickets should be able to do what they will with it, short of basically never going to a game and using it as their own little profit center.
And I think, isn't that what most of these ticket squabbles have been about? The one guy that we know, he would sell, I think he had 6 season tickets, and he would sell them every week so he could buy closer seats because he was part of the fan group. And they were like, yeah, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And his legitimate beef to me is that there was no due process he said there was no warning. Like, really? There's no warning? You're not going to send me a letter and then I stop doing this? Or can you get me closer and I'll buy 2 seats instead of 6? I mean, you're right. It is a one-way conversation, but that's not enough for me to not like the team.
Don't like the team.
I mean, it's totally transactional, right? And is the team supposed to? I don't know.
The team should not. So if it's a symbiotic relationship, the deal is you put somebody in the seat and they buy the overpriced snacks. Whether you put them in there or somebody else puts it. The thing is, you don't want an empty seat. But when you suck all the blood out of the dog, then the tick dies too. And the problem is the Lions are the parasite, and they're sucking all the blood out of the dog.
Yeah, but they're also rolling around in an area with a lot of ticks who will gladly jump on that dog.
Oh, so now you're calling the fans ticks? No, I guess the teams are ticks.
You called the team a dog.
No, I call the fans a dog. The teams are the ticks.
I mean, you don't have to. You can be a fan and never go to a game. Most fans don't go to the games.
Or you cannot like
Sean,
the team and never go to a game.
I'm just feeling bad.
Sorry, Sean wanted to talk Pistons.
You know what?
No. I didn't want to talk to Pistons.
You know what I think it is, Sean? I think he just looks for any reason not to like the Lions for some reason,
or just to be unhappy in general. I don't know.
That's not a legitimate reason that the team abuses its fans. That's not legitimate.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, you're jumping to the point that
this was
you've already convicted them of abusing their fans.
This is my point. At the top of the show, last week's show was much better. Without me.
Well, we still have time to turn it around. Sean, could you leave?
Yeah. All right. So this is a Lions town first and foremost. I think that's where you left off.
I think I probably ought to leave, huh?
No. You were just about to tell us that it's a tiger town. Now.
So after that, what's next?
Oh, the Tigers. Period. 100%.
I think so, and I
baseball
don't.
town.
I don't think that's always been true. I mean, it was true. Shoot, this was probably a baseball town first for
since 1901.
exactly until when
James
did,
Naismith came up with his peach basket.
I mean, when did it become a Lions town over the Tigers town? Probably not until the 90s, maybe. I mean, 80s. When did baseball?
Well, whenever football really exploded.
Yeah,
when they really allowed free agency. So about early 90s.
Yeah, that's so it was a Tiger town for.
And then baseball became a regional sport in a weird sort of way.
It was a Portsmouth Spartans town for a while. There.
You know, and then you think about it. I remember hearing the argument. Like when the bad boys were winning and people judged by the size of the parade. So I don't know how many people they had down Woodward Avenue, maybe 500,000-600,000 people. The Wings then won in 97 and had, 1 million people?
That was insane.
So people thought, well, okay, if you're going to rank them, you go Lions, Tigers, Wings, Pistons. But what's interesting to me, too, is that the bad boys...
I would kind of agree with that.
The bad boys are still... They were more relevant outside Detroit and outside Michigan, right?
Sure,
just culturally, but here.
Well, what's funny is no one. I mean, I'm even guilty of forgetting about the going to work Pistons, which was one of the more fun teams to watch.
Well, and what's interesting is they had sellouts. They had like record number of sellouts, right, for all those years.
But if you were to rank like national or championship teams in this area, they'd probably be the most forgotten in a way.
Absolutely,
I think the '68 Tigers are probably more remembered than the 2004 Pistons.
We can't say that about the Lions.
I think the 2002 Red Wings, because of all the Hall of Famers, is way more regarded.
Well, here's my question, and I'm sorry, we don't necessarily want to make this a sports podcast, but this is where it is.
But I'm going to anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna. No,
just go. Who cares?
We'll just put this out there.
Those people that wouldn't like it are long gone.
You got a longer windup than Hideki Nomo.
Both the NBA and the Major League Baseball have lost a fair amount of fans over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Especially the last 5 years. But
baseball, it was their own fault, and they've kind of fixed it. The games are tediously boring.
Yeah, basketball's got all sorts of issues. NBA. I feel like
basketball has cultural issues.
That too. That baseball does too, but just in the opposite way, which is sort of interesting.
I'm confused.
I don't know if I agree
what are the
with
cultural issues?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like the
politics.
NBA because of the politics.
Yeah.
You know, the LeBron James type politics. You know, it's like,
well, the NFL suffered.
Why are you in business with China or whatever? The whole anti-racist I don't feel like baseball is the opposite in the other direction. I don't. I just think it's more a regional sport. If you grew up with it, if your parents liked it, your dad, to be, if they, how often does a dad pass it down to their son narrative, right, with baseball? So the Tigers have always been around here. I don't think it's as strong in a lot of markets as it is here.
Yeah, but
like nobody around here cares about the Cardinals, but they have one of the strongest local markets.
But the demographics of who plays baseball have changed, and even who goes to games has changed to a degree. Anyway. I feel like baseball's having a weird little renaissance in the last year or two, and part of it I think is because the games are shorter.
Yep, 100%.
And basketball's not there yet. 10, 15 years ago, the NBA was much more popular. And that showed up in the national ratings, the World Series for the NBA Finals, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't the game more boring now? I mean, I don't watch the NBA, but I keep hearing people say it's boring. It's three-pointers.
I don't think it's boring, but they do have a problem with too many three-pointers and too many dunks. There's no mid-range, right? There's no team defense, quote-unquote.
People want some of the fighting back. They want some of the physicality. I mean, it's the same in every sport. Like in hockey, people love the fighting, right? Mm-hmm. And that's been kind of legislated out a little bit. And you're a big hockey guy, Mike.
I don't mind people throwing hands, but my daughter Sophie loves it. She sees a fight and she gets out of her seat. In fact, she and Emily went to go see me playing an old man hockey game one night, and we were getting run off the ice, and there was a little scrum in front of the net. And several players were asked to leave the rink. And when they left the rink, they were jawing back and forth. And Emily and Sophie at that time were probably around 10 or so, came running to see who it was. And then they saw it was me and some other guys, and they were like,
"Are you more of a fighter or a lover on the ice?"
Well, I've never copulated with any other players, so I guess by default I'm not a lover. But as they often say about the untalented guys, I'm an energy guy, but I'm always good to go if somebody wants to. My pet peeve in sports and in life too is people who talk shit as they're walking away. Like, I can deal with anything, any kind of back and forth, any jostling. I think it's all part of the game. I love talking trash.
What if you're getting back on defense?
Well, then you shouldn't be talking to me. You should be saving your breath.
No,
But
I was
after the whistle, if you're saying shit to me as you're skating away, we're probably going to go.
Really? You
I
know
just
what to
think
say.
if you got something to say to me, you say it to my face, and then we're good. But if you want to say it when you're skating away, if you're going to be a tough guy, be a tough guy. If you're a fake tough guy, then that's a problem. But it's a problem for you, not for me.
No, I just think that we've gotten to the point
By the way,
where
you have the weirdest ethical framework.
yeah, that's okay.
He really
No,
does.
it's relative. We all have our own
know.
perspective. That's how you do. I do. It's
I'm
okay.
fascinated by his, though.
Well, I'm fascinated by yours.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
I am.
And your calves. He's fascinated by your calves.
Well, that's maybe not the right word.
You're erotically
Lustful?
Yeah, it's you better stick with fascinated. It's a lot safer.
No, but don't you think that there's so much stuff out there now? That, I mean, football is the one at the NFL, college football to a lesser degree, but it's the one sport. No matter how bad the
It
local
can't fail
team,
at anything.
yeah, people are still going to pay attention. You know, it's 0-16, whatever. But the other three sports at this point, at least on a local level, they have to be competitive in some way for there to be real interest. There's
I
too many.
have a little bit of a theory on that.
That's
I think
where
it's-
we are with sports now, right?
I think it's in general the shortening of attention spans.
But don't you think also the offerings out there just of entertainment or
Yeah,
connection?
they're too vast.
They are. I mean, that's just kind of where we're at to me.
But why aren't the Pistons gaining any traction? Like that's what I find is because
I mean, they definitely have.
It's been a remarkable turnaround. I mean,
No,
they went
but
from worst to
They have.
They have the hallmark
Pretty
of
good.
what an interesting team is. A lot of young talent. They play. They play.
And the crowds have been at Little Caesars Arena the last month.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there four out of the last 5 regular season games, and it was pretty full, almost close to sold out, and loud as I've heard. So it's being reflected in some ways. I don't want to say like nobody's paying attention. That's just not true.
But
compared
it's
to-
unlike when the Tigers exploded.
Or even what the Tigers have done in April. Yeah, here we are at the beginning of a season. But I think it's just the difference in sports and expectations. In basketball, people have a sense that if you're not a contender, you got no. I know that sort of sounds ridiculous, but if you're not at a certain level, you have no chance. In baseball, hockey, even the NFL a little bit, you can upset people.
well, in basketball, you can make the playoffs with a losing record, right?
Well, yeah, you can this year.
You can, and you're not going to have any chance at all. Hockey, you get into the 8th seed, and who knows what's going to
Anything
be.
can
Your goalie
happen.
gets
Yeah.
hot. Baseball, you get
Baseball too. Baseball wildcard teams have won plenty of times.
Yeah, you get a pitcher, right? Maybe you have 2 pitchers,
Yeah.
and somebody gets a couple of hits, and all of a sudden you're in the World Series.
But basketball, you're right. It does seem to be very top heavy. With the teams that are good.
Yeah, and I think people have a.
So do you think more people
good sense of
expect the Tigers are more likely to compete for a championship than the Pistons right now?
Absolutely.
Even though the Pistons are entering the playoffs and the Tigers. I mean, I think they're going to make it, but you don't know that right now.
No, I
think
think
happen.
I absolutely think that's part of it.
Like right now,
What
end
Tigers?
of April. Oh, okay, yeah.
No. I'm just asking. You mean you're asking to say?
I think
whether-
more people believe that the Tigers have a chance at winning the World Series than the Pistons do at winning the NBA championship, and I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's true too, because they compete with the best teams. Whereas when you think about as much as Cade Cunningham really seems to be coming into his own, you only hear about Luka Doncic, and then that's that other guy from Denver, and then LeBron, and these other guys. The one guy with a beard, and that other guy with the who shoots the ball.
That's kind of where Curry. That's kind of where the NBA is right now.
Well, it's funny because off the air you were talking about. I can't even think of his name. Gregorius. What the hell's his name? Oklahoma City. The leading.
Shea
scorer.
Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, he's a Canadian, so nobody cares.
Nobody knows about him.
No.
And he's quite possibly, does he lead the league in scoring? I mean, he
does.
He's all pro. I'll tell you that much.
He's a foul baiter. So there's this.
He's a big time foul baiter, and he went to Kentucky for a year. So nobody really knows.
No,
who
and
he
people
is.
don't like to stop. People don't like to foul. There's this whole phrase now in NBA, not so much college, called ethical hoops. He's an ethical hooper, which means you're not trying to bait fouls. You're not trying to get the refs to call fouls. You're actually just trying to score. And if you happen to get fouled, you get fouled, right? And so there are all these fundamental philosophical kind of phrases that speak to a larger argument about how basketball should be played right now.
So is an ethical hoopster the guy who, when you're playing pickup, would never call a foul when he gets
You could
jacked
say
up?
that. That's not what this refers to, but you could say that.
Because I mean, how many times have you guys played and you're playing with some scrub who totally boots it and he's like, I got fouled. It's like, what do you mean? You dribbled off your foot. No, you got fouled. You hit me. It's like, no, I didn't. You just.
I just think it's.
I hate those guys. I would rather play and take the contact and not make the bucket than be like, oh, you fouled me. Let's start over.
But this happens in our system. I mean, I don't know if the NBA will ever get back to where it was or not. Maybe it will. I mean, I feel like baseball's coming back, but this is just how we are with sports. Like UFC is a big thing now. Boxing is not.
Oh, we talked about that last week.
Well, I mean, and look how huge NASCAR used to be.
And it's just
big.
completely
It's just
fallen.
not even- I remember in 1994 there was a Sports Illustrated cover that said why the NHL is hot and the NBA is not. You know, like they were overtaking them. But that then flipped, nationwide.
No, it did. It did. Yeah, UFC, horse racing is not what it used to be, right? Boxing is maybe not what it used to be. It's just
Don't you think baseball hurt themselves with the analytics movement because it was all walks, strikeouts, home runs? Because those are the efficient type plays.
yeah, similar to basketball.
Basketball is
and
getting-
the 3-pointer. Yeah, it's-
3-pointer and dunks and getting to the foul.
people
line
want
are-
different
are your
styles.
most,
Yeah, they want stories,
efficient
which means
plays,
you want
yeah.
different styles and matchups and narratives that go along with all that. But it is interesting how over time, society changes and sports, what we love changes.
Football will always be on top.
I mean, who knows? Maybe.
Oh, I think it will. The only thing you could ever think that might kill the NFL
Is people
seeing
stop playing it.
People stop playing because they see people with CTE or concussions. But I got to tell you, I think we've already seen that. I think we all know how insanely violent that sport can be. And there's still plenty of people that will play it. And more importantly, plenty of people that will watch it because we like that stuff.
And meanwhile, the UFC has exploded, right?
Yeah. Well, and
it's
hockey,
like
we like hockey
gladiators.
fights like we were just talking about. So
Right. You want to see gladiators. You want to see people get in the arena
To-
and
to a
do
point.
incredibly violent things. That
Is that why Game of Thrones was so popular?
yeah, but I think in real life
violence.
it's to a point. You don't want anybody who's gonna you don't want to see these people with a horrible CTE. But then at the same time, it's a little separate from the action. Like you don't want to see a guy die on the field like we saw with Damar Hamlin or whomever. You want to see hard hits, but you want the guy to end up being okay. And the effects of football are really kind of down the line. So you don't really.
It's just
Junior Seau wasn't that old.
It
when
depends
he-
on.
self-inflicted.
It
Yeah,
depends
but
on
I
what's
mean,
going on in
he
the
was
world,
I know.
right? Doesn't it also depend on what's going on in the world and what we want? Like thinking about all the romantic comedies that started coming out. They weren't really called that back in the 30s. People just wanted to escape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There've been times where, or in the 70s, we have all these independent auteurs and Robert Altman and all these movie makers coming out trying to make sense of a world that, because the 60s were tumultuous in the early 70s in Vietnam. And so you see it reflected in our movies and some books, although I don't, do we?
Now all you see are superhero movies.
Yeah. And that says something too, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a better return on your investment is really what it says.
It's business.
Yeah, it's 100% business. You have that, and then you have the independent films that nobody goes and sees because there are still people out there who believe in the art of it.
And then, yeah, we don't really have Raiders of the Lost Ark anymore.
No. Nothing like that.
Or I don't know.
No, you get superhero movies or retreads
Or ordinary
brand things
people. I'm
like
just trying to think of just-
Minecraft
Yeah.
and Barbie, things that are based on
Yeah,
real.
instead of
the Kool-Aid Man.
When's the last time you went and saw a Hollywood just drama or even thriller?
To that point, Honora is a drama that won Best Picture, and that's one of the worst movies I've seen.
well,
in a long time,
but that
so-
but that
Is that
people
the Hooker
share.
movie?
yeah, it's terrible. But you get biopics now, so that seems to be a big genre. There's very little original type of
Like Bob
dramas.
Dylan, yeah.
Yeah,
No, all the original dramas in television.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Well, you can draw a story out longer.
Shetland, Mike.
Oh no, is that our
boy.
weekly Shetland reference?
Yeah, I know I need to renew my BritBox subscription, Sean. Or you can give me your password.
But I would much rather stay and watch a serialized TV show than go to a movie. without a doubt.
Me too. I hate to say that. I can't imagine that. I just would never have imagined I would be saying that. But it's
Yeah, but something that's like 8 episodes long, as opposed to just a 2.5 hour movie. Yeah, I'd rather watch the 8 episodes.
That's where I feel like I love to read, and it's one of my favorite things.
Ugh.
And I never read books anymore. The newspaper and the web I read all the time, especially with everything going on in Washington. It feels like you have to check your phone every hour to see the latest thing. But when I watch these serialized shows, particularly in one setting, I feel like I'm reading a book. Whereas a movie, I feel like I'm reading a chapter. But when you can sit down and say, "Ooh, I've got these 8 or 10 hour-and-a-half things," you can sort of snuggle in and say, "This is like a good book," but I'm a lot more passive.
Didn't we used to do that too back in the 1800s? I'm trying to remember what point in the 1800s.
I wasn't around then. We'll take your word for it, Pappy.
But there were periodicals that would publish chapters of books.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Serialized, yeah.
So you'd get that every month or every week or every couple of weeks or whatever. It's similar to what we're experiencing now with all these fabulous TV shows.
Yeah, or podcasts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true.
Is this a
That's
podcast,
true,
by the
Craig.
way?
I don't know what we're doing.
I've never really been certain on what we're doing here. Do we call this podcast?
Well, we show up
This
10% of the time.
This is a good way to kill 75 minutes a week.
I got you.
This is white noise from white boys for the world.
10 minutes, 10% of the time, is that what you said?
What? Who said? I didn't
Probably
say
a
anything.
little higher than
What are
that.
you talking about? I don't know what's
It's
going
probably a
on.
little higher than that.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Oh boy, I'm not sure Luke is really helping us here get away with this is not a sports podcast, but that's okay because March Madness may be over. For those of you who don't know,
It was over a long time ago.
It was a basketball tournament, but Market Madness might be here for a while, and I think that's a safe bet. If you're having concerns over how the recent turmoil in the investing landscape could impact your plans and goals, call or text Luke Nowacki, because you're going to text, so I want you to write this number down, 248-663-4748. That's 248-663-4748. He may not have the answers, but at least you can be confused together, which is really kind of the tagline of this show. The one thing I will tell you is when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
We didn't talk about golf, by the way.
What?
That's old. The Masters was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I know it was, but there. I wanted to, because I missed last week's show. Did any of you guys see? We're talking about baseball earlier. Ken Griffey Jr.
No.
served as a photographer for the Masters and actually took some really. He got a credential and walked around and shot for Getty Images and took some really great shots.
Oh, if I was a photographer, I'd be pissed.
Is that fair that you could be that good at one thing and then?
I mean, the cynic would say that photography's not all that hard.
Shawn,
I wouldn't say that. A cynic.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Not necessarily speaking for myself, but there's some people who are talented in many regards. I don't think we should shun those people. We should celebrate them.
No, I just don't think it's fair.
Give them their own podcast. Put their name.
You don't think it's fair?
Oh, of course it's fair.
Yeah, I think.
No, I just was thinking about.
I mean, he does have the money to buy the best equipment.
No, I was just thinking about your multi-dimensional talents, both of you. You know.
Shut up. Will you stop?
I forgot to mention that earlier.
Who's your geek?
Oh, sorry. It's the people who operated.
It's Ken Griffey Jr. That was the point.
Oh, well, Shawn got in. Okay, there you go.
Oh, so you're not happy that he? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there was this eco retreat in Sweden called Stedsons, and they would the people, a couple who ran it, were sort of a little media empire unto themselves, where they would advertise how you can keep things clean, and you can be friendly, and you can have a good time, and you can do all this other stuff. And so they had this resort where they would charge people a pretty penny to come out there, and then they kind of disappeared. And when the authorities came to check out this eco-friendly, zero environmental footprint place, they found barrel upon barrel upon barrel of human waste and all kinds of nastiness. So it turns out they were selling.
And I believe some of the wastewater was going into the spring that they were drinking out of too. They felt like it's a major environmental disaster. And these people are on the run in Central America or South America.
Yeah, no, they bailed out of Sweden. They're like,
because they owe money. It was a fraud. The whole thing was a straight up fraud.
Yeah, they sold this idea. And
Swedes,
went
really?
There.
Two Swedes at least.
Oh, they're the Swedes.
Yeah.
So it was.
And I believe they did it in Denmark, though, right? They didn't do it in Sweden. I think. They said like Copenhagen was calling them.
That's a good
I believe
question.
so.
I don't know. I just know
Which
that.
I think part of their plan was to then escape back to Sweden. But I'm like, I'm sure they would just give you back to Denmark. Who cares? But now they're in the Americas now.
Scandinavia. What's the difference? I mean,
it's all the same.
Yeah, just keep walking, have a fish, and shut up.
It's a great geek. Yeah.
So it turns out, in the end, it wasn't as sweet a deal as people thought.
Oh, for God's sake!
You've been waiting to say that all day.
Jesus.
Well, somebody's got to fill the space of the comedian in the show since he's.
You could have just ended it with like you usually end it.
By saying that's that's why they're our Geek of the Week.
If there's an all-night party in room 7609, and you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
So we have yet another submission from a listener for room 7609 who says, "Hey boys," and one fetching lady, although Erica's not with us this week, she'll be back next week. He says, "My wife's favorite band circa 2012 was the Black Keys. I got us floor tickets for their show at Joe Louis, and it happened to overlap on the calendar with the Hamtramck Music Festival. It should have been a great night." And Mark, I got to tell you, this one may get ponderous. This was a bit of a celebration for us, and she and I went out for a nice dinner at the Book Cadillac. While there, we split a bottle of wine, meaning that I had a glass and she finished the bottle.
Whoa.
We were well seasoned at remaining responsible, see, upright, whilst drinking after nearly a decade in grad school. Yet that night, she ate like a bird, but partied like a co-ed. We met up outside of JLA with some good friends and shared a left-handed cigarette. Never heard that term before, but I think I know what he's referring to, the hippie lettuce.
Just another bit of discrimination against us left-handed people.
Well, you know what? I guess
living in the right man's world.
If I was going to smoke, I would want to be a left-handed smoker.
Righty's always keeping us down, right, Sean?
That's right.
Damn. So they met outside after having this left-hand cigarette. Damn it. And they headed inside. Inside, we find ourselves maybe 20 yards from center stage, packed into the sweaty crowd. During the show, we share some more community smokes with the crowd, and she and I each have a beer. Halfway through the show, I feel her leaning on me.
Oh, boy.
I turn, and she collapses into me. I have to carry her out of the crowd, which was a chore. What are you saying about the old lady there? I get her into the first aid tent, and the medics help get her hydrated. The medics tell me that they are supposed to notify the police in this situation, but because I was her husband and seemed sober, they would release her to my care. We missed the end of the show, and instead of continuing the evening in Hamtramck with our pals, I take her home and nurture her back to health.
Aww.
A little after midnight, I get a text from the friend that went to Hamtown after the Keys show. It was a picture of my friend with Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys. Apparently, the Black Keys went to the local music festival after their show also, and my amateur drinker of an ex-wife ruined it. Moral of the story? Don't get married, kids. And here's my song. Here's a song that's only thematically related to my tale. This is a standard from Huddle Ledbetter and performed by the Black Liberace piano deity, James Booker. It details a man's struggle with his love life and the methods he could choose to resolve them. This has all of your swing without a single note from the bass guitar. So here's James Booker, brought to you by a man who married very poorly.
Last Saturday night, I got married. Me and my wife, we settled down. Now me and
James Booker with Good Night, Irene.
Great song.
It's pretty good.
Hell of a song.
Pretty good. And I wonder if he was married to Irene. It sounds like he put somebody to bed that night. I'm wondering, we got to get a follow-up on this. He says, my ex-wife, does that mean that this Black Keys thing, he really was that pissed off about missing out on Dan Auerbach that he...
I think it was just one of many.
Oh, boy. Well, too bad. He says, here's a postscript. Love the show, team, at least when you aren't wasting our time with football talk. So I hope he's okay with basketball and baseball talk, and maybe he appreciates a fresh and genuine take on the Lions. But well,
it was not fresh. It was not a fresh take. You've been complaining about him for years.
We'll have to see. So then he offers a list of his best show experiences and worst show experiences. We won't get into that, but he asks us, what are your favorite or most disappointing live shows? Do you guys?
Oh, that's easy.
Oh,
that's there's a lot of recency bias here, but having seen Jack White, on the 13th, that was one of the best shows I've ever seen at the Masonic.
Yeah, I was going to say that better not be among your worst shows.
When was that?
No, Sunday, April 13th.
Just a
of
week
a
or
show.
so ago.
Yeah, about 10 days ago.
Really?
Yeah, and I've never seen Jack live, so yeah, phenomenal show. The two surprising shows that I loved that were really great was seeing. Do you remember when Limp Bizkit did a tour for Napster, pro Napster tour, and they played the State Theater?
Don't.
That was one of the more insane shows, but highly enjoyable. And Marilyn Manson, who I'm not a Marilyn Manson fan, but that is a show to see just for the theatrics of it. Worst show, no doubt, was No Doubt.
Oh,
Seeing
really?
them at the Phoenix Center they're part of a festival.
Don't say.
Worst fucking live show I've ever seen, and it's not even close.
Wow.
Not even close. Yeah.
Wow. I've seen the Pixies a couple times, and as much as I like the Pixies, not good live.
Yeah.
Not good live.
Yeah, I saw them open up maybe 2 years ago, and they were probably better then because they weren't as angry at each other, I would think. When did you see them?
So I saw them in 1989.
They all hated each other then.
Yeah, I saw them open up for Love and Rockets at the Fox Theater, and I wrote a review of it, and I panned the Pixies, and everybody was just railing at me. Like, this is when Doolittle was out, so they were huge, and people, whoa, you... So then they played at St. Andrews Hall, and they headlined, and we drove through a snowstorm through East Lansing to go see them, and everybody's like, you asshole, Pixies, they're going to rock. Well, Black Francis was in a shitty mood because the mic was arcing and
Sounds like
zapping him.
Yeah.
So he stormed off the stage. Everybody's like, boo, people are throwing beer bottles. It was like a scene out of the Blues Brothers without the chicken wire. He comes back on reluctantly, does a song or half a song, gets zapped again, throws down his axe and leaves, and everybody just went apeshit. And then we had to drive back through this monster blizzard, and everybody's like, okay, the Pixies kind of sucked. So fast forward, I saw him, I think it was actually while they were playing Doolittle from cover to cover, like 30 years later. It was a good show. It was proficient, but it was just boring. Just like,
They're phoning it in.
Which is too bad, because I think Black Francis is kind of an interesting guy, but just not a lot of charisma on the stage. So I'd say they're among probably one of the worst live acts I've seen.
Another bad one that I saw Wu-Tang live, and they were terrible.
They're nothing to
They're
fuck
coming
with.
back.
You better be careful. ODB,
No,
if he's listening.
Honestly, you know what it was? It was 20 people on stage with a microphone. All the microphones were open. Had no idea what was going on or who was saying what or what was even being said.
Just chaos.
It was, not good.
So I think the best show I've ever seen, I've seen a lot of great shows, but was probably Johnny Marr on his first solo tour when he played at the Magic Stick, which if you've never been there, it's not the Magic Bag, which is a great venue too, but this is the live music space above Rockin' Bowl, the Garden Bowl on Woodward. It's a big space, but it can be very intimate, and you could walk right up while Johnny was playing. You could reach out and touch him, not that I would have done that, and you look over his shoulder, and all the guitars are stacked up because there's like no backstage, so they're out there performing, and you're right there, and it was his first time touring, and it was so good, and it was like an A-lister who's playing, in a grotto almost, although it was up in the air.
So you like the intimacy of it?
I liked the intimacy. It sounded good. The music was good, and the accessibility, and it was one of those things where you feel like you could get as close as you wanted, or you could go hang back, and it was.
Do you like seeing like a massively big show and with a huge crowd to be part of something?
Well, so I'd say one of the other best shows I ever saw was Roger Waters perform The Wall at the Palace, which was breathtaking. And I shelled out more than somebody as cheap as I am likes to pay for a show. But it was staggering. I really, really enjoyed that show, but I'd rather see somebody at a small venue. Now, my daughter Emily got to perform another Brick in the Wall Part 2 with Roger Waters when he did a second leg of that tour at JLA. And for as much as people don't like Roger Waters, his very limited interaction with the kids was really cool. I thought he was a really, really good dude. And of course, my daughter's like, I don't know who this is.
Who is this old guy?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, it's Roger Waters.
Shawn?
That's a good question. I haven't seen a show in decades.
Scratch Acid.
Oh, that's my first favorite.
The best shows.
While he was rolling on beans.
There was a band
and a stolen moped.
Band called the True Believers that I used to love to go see at the Continental Club. They were great.
Did you tour with them? You follow them around?
No,
Is that the band you've seen the most?
Probably in Austin. I saw Dinosaur Jr. at the Blind Pig in Ann Arbor back in the late '80s, and they were really good. San Francisco band called Game Theory. They were really good. I don't know if you
any bands that people know. No.
Dinosaur Jr. No,
no, you're right. Yeah.
Now is Dinosaur Jr. now Junior? Is that Dale Earnhardt?
That's
Jr.?
Dale Earnhardt.
That's a good question. I saw the one of the more interesting shows I ever saw was the Butthole Surfers, and they had two drummers and
actually we're talking about bands, not what you did on Valentine's Day,
and strippers up on the stage with video in the background. This is pretty radical for back in the when was this? This must have been the '80s too. The worst show I ever saw was one of my favorite bands called The Replacements.
Oh, really?
Of course.
Because they were drunk as hell and couldn't finish a show. And
they're notoriously bad live because they're drunk.
Back then, yeah.
They get lost. They're fighting. And
this was back when they were still sort of punky.
Yeah.
It was before Westberg, before they started writing songs for movies. And you remember when they had weren't they part of the Singles soundtrack?
Shawn liked them before they sold out and got popular.
No, I like that music too. Paul Westerberg was I don't know, but I saw Whit Marsalis once. That was fun.
Yeah, I saw the Replacements once at Hill Auditorium, maybe in Ann Arbor. They were great. And then I saw them less than 10 years ago at the Fillmore, and they weren't bad, but they did some weird thing where they had a tent on stage and they kind of were passing around a tent. And I'm like, is this some sort of like super deep fan reference that I'm not getting?
One of the more fun shows I ever saw was the old Reunion Arena in Dallas, which is gone now. It's where the Dallas Mavericks used to play. But I saw ZZ Top there
that'd be great
in the early '80s.
Yeah. Oh man,
in the Velcro Fly days.
And it was their comeback album. It made them popular with the new because they had hits. They had some hits in the '70s, and then what was the big album that made them? Give Me All Your Lovin', or no?
Yeah, that was one with Sharp Dressed Man and Velcro Fly.
That was what, 83 maybe? Or
it wasn't. Violator was Depeche Mode, but it had some name like that, like Eliminator.
Yeah. But it was that tour, and they blew up. They blew up with, and we piled in a van, and smoked a lot of weed and wrote shoe polish on the side of the van. ZZ Top or bust. Can you?
She had some left-handed cigarettes. Sounds like.
Can you believe it? But anyway, no, that was fun. I don't know if you guys like ZZ Top or not, but that was
Eliminator.
Eliminator. There you go.
Yeah. Did you guys ever like them?
I would go see ZZ Top.
It's a great album. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
LaGrange. I always like.
How.
I still think that's a jam. But, yeah.
I saw
I
the
love
Black
that line
Keys.
in this song where he goes, "You know what I'm talking about?" It's like, no, I didn't hear a word you said before that. You're mumbling.
You know what I'm talking about.
I saw the Black Keys, I think at the Fillmore when they were just coming up, and they were terrific. So I can see why this guy would be bummed to.
I haven't seen a show since the early '90s. Is that bad?
That's bad. You want to come to the Black Keys? I'm going to see them.
Not particularly.
No, really? They do put on a great show. They're a tempo.
I do like the music. Yeah.
You know who else puts on a great show is Saint Motel. I've seen them at St. Andrews Hall. I don't know why they don't play a bigger venue, but it's great. They're fantastic, and I saw them do a free show at Beacon Park just before the pandemic, I think. And afterwards, it was one of those things where it was a one-off show, and because there's no backstage there, when the gig was over, they just walked away from the stage, and I ran into AJ walking down. Maybe it was Cass going to to pick up an Uber or something. And I said, "Hey man, can we get a picture?" And we got a picture together. He was, it was a brief moment, so I don't know you know that much about him, but he seemed super cool. And they just took off. And I said, "Well, if you guys are looking for a cool post-show place, you should go to Cafe de Mongo's or something." And I don't think they did do that, but it was
yeah. Thanks, weirdo.
Yeah, and say, "What? Candy Game for Mongo?"
Isn't Cafe de Mongo across the street from
It's
our
across
new
from our new digs? Yeah.
Speaking, I'll tell you the coolest show I've ever seen.
Yes.
The coolest show I've ever seen. Most spiritual experience I've ever had watching somebody sing or play music was the early 2000s.
Reverend Horton Heat.
And the church that Aretha Franklin's father used to preach at.
Oh, sure.
And I can't remember the name of it. Sorry. Anyway, she was to commemorate Detroit's 300th birthday or whatever.
The tricentennial.
And she sang in her father's church, and it was in August, and it was really, really humid and hot. And because her vocal cords didn't like air conditioning, she didn't let the church put air conditioning on. So all these people who were decked out in all their Sunday best were soaked. Oh, and then, of course, she was late. She made everybody wait like she used to do. Right? So she's late. Everybody's unhappy. They're sweaty. They're hot. They're miserable. And she walks up on stage and starts singing. And that was that. Right?
And everything was cool.
And it was just, yeah. And you're like, okay. This is different. This voice, and
we're all miserable. So
no. But it just the whatever
sounds
connection,
terrible.
Whatever connection she had, and that voice had to whatever is up in the heavens. That's what you felt. I never felt anything like that before.
Interesting.
That's very cool. Well, we love it when you send stories, particularly when they get us telling more of our stories. So send your suggestions, your song, your story to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. That's also where you can send your feedback. We love to hear from you. We love it when you support the show. You can do that a couple ways. You can do that by supporting our sponsors. If you go talk to Luke, let him know you found out about him through us. And if you go to the Caju Cafe, let John and the team know that you're a fan of the show, because there's lots of good reasons to go to the Caju Cafe. There's Muscle Madness on Mondays. It's all you can eat mussels, which, how can you do better than all you can eat?
Nice.
There's Blues Open Jam on Wednesdays. There's weekends. They always have great stuff going on. Karaoke on Wednesdays. That's the longest running karaoke in Detroit. This Thursday, I should say, we got the Open Jam with the Bill Meyer Group Trio. Friday, if you love Grateful Dead, you'll love Super Crunch. They're a regular at the Caju. Saturday, always a great time. The 27th. Now, if you heard RJ Spangler on our special bonus episode that we did from the Caju on St. Patrick's Day, you know that he puts together Planet D No Net. I used to think it was Planet D No Nay. No, it's Planet D No Net. They'll be playing on Sunday. Dwayne Harlick and Friends will be there as well. And then Monday, of course, Tasha Owens and the Stable Dudes Open Jam is there along with the Muscle Madness. So to find out about the greatest stuff going on the East Side, go to cajucafe.com. We also encourage you to support the show, as the Caju does and as Luke does, by becoming a soulmate. That's just $5 a month. You can get our bonus episode. You can watch the show. You can listen to it without those annoying insertion ads. You'll get it before everybody else. And as we prepare for our summer events tour and our Soul Night on Friday, August 1st at the Caju Cafe, we're going to have some special opportunities for you, some VIP seating, chance to hang out with us a little bit. Become a soulmate and get first shot at those great opportunities. And your feedback, again, tell us what you're thinking. We appreciate constructive criticism, although we'll take all criticism, at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. And, of course, the rest of the week, if you can support us. I keep asking for your money. At least this one's a cheap one. You can get like a subscription to the Free Press for, like $1 for 6 months, something obscene. But it's the best way to see that premium content put out on a regular basis by Sean Windsor. And occasionally I bleed a little something in the paper, and you can catch it that way too. So if you can't get enough of us here, check out the Free Press. And, of course, Mark is on all the time with the Drew Lane Show, carrying that whole thing. It's it's what he tells us off air. He's like, man, I tell you, these guys, they lost me. They're nothing without me. They're nothing. I tell you, they're nothing. So was I not supposed to say that?
No, I'm an open book. You know that.
Okay, all right. We're telling.
It sounds like exactly what I say too.
And exactly that.
Very
inflection.
ungrateful.
Yeah, he's that's the thing about Mark. It's all that
So
Belgian
selfish.
gold that they stole.
Right, Sean?
Right.
What's on your phone that's so interesting?
Nothing.
He just got a text from Cyrus. What does that text say, Sean?
Take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
And there you have this week's Imagination Theater performance. Now, at this same time next week, you'll hear an hour of Bad Guys in the Sagebrush as the
Soul of Detroit
returns for its monthly broadcast. In the meantime, check our website,
mlsoulofdetroit.com